Hello and welcome to Dice and Demons. I'm Emma, and in this video I want to show you my Ork army, the Bubblegum Boys Brigade, as it is so far. It is by no means a finished army, it is very much still a work in progress. I'm always looking for fun new stuff to add to my army, and I am right now particularly excited about the release of the Beast Snaggers. I think they're going to be so much fun to paint. But in this video I'll show you what I have been working on for the past year or so. I started my Ork army last spring, so it's been a year and 3 months. So that is where I have gotten in that time. Okay, so first off I want to show off my Stormboyz, and I want to start with them because they are to me the most fun. So as you can see, I put them all on, I cut off the bits they usually come with for being mounted on the base and look like they're flying. And so I just used a piece of see-through plastic card and mounted them on that, which means they are like this, really wobbly. And it's silly, I know, but I mean, I have a unit of orcs that can do this. So, and what's not to like? So they're, they're just a completely standard Ork boys, and then I just put them on this. And if you look closely, you can see that the plastic is a little bit matted where I used this super glue. So I mean, this is definitely not something I would use if I were ever to do a display piece. But I mean, these are going on the tabletop, and they can do this. I have had way too much fun with these guys. It makes me happy. I can just sit like this, bounce all day long. Well, perhaps not all day long, but I can spend a good deal of time on that. And next up we have a Warboss, and this is a Warboss I got from Kyle, who is the guy who does all the sculpts from Gearguts mech shop. And this is a special Dice and Demons Warboss that he designed for me, and so that was really cool that he wanted to do that. And you can see it's Dice and Demons because you have the dice here at the belt. And he asked, so is there anything in particular you want? And I was like, I want a big claw and I want a pet squig. So I mean, I got exactly what I asked for, which was really cool. And he's a pretty big boy. I can show him next to an ordinary boy, so you can see he's a nice big chunky warboss. And yeah, that was so cool. Yeah, he's a lot of fun, and I had a lot of fun painting him as well. Next up we have my Ork boys, and I just counted them, and I think I have 60 all in all, which is I mean, that's a lot of Ork boys, but is it enough? I don't think so. I mean, can you ever really have enough Ork boys? And they're all painted in this relatively basic color scheme with the yellow pants and the turquoise shirt, and then just really in a nice vivid green. And they're just they're painted for, as I mean, I think it's a nice tabletop standard, but there is nothing like really fancy, really time consuming going on, because I mean, they're Ork boys, so I mean, I aim to have at least 100 at some point. So I don't want a color scheme that'll take me 10 hours per model. So when I look at this, I'm happy with them, like as a big horde. And I also think that it works out really well that they are sort of coherent, but also a little bit fun with different tiny details, some of them. And then also, again, it seems actually relatively realistic that I can do 100. I think I have about 70 right now. And you'll notice some of them have names on the base, rim of the bases, and that's because I have used them for a kill team campaign. And this is by far the most disappointing figure in the entire campaign. The orc I called Ip, which is a little sort of kind of a silly Danish name. It's a man's name, Ip, so that was the orc, and he was supposed to be the leader of my kill team. And then on his back is a grot, and I named him Ferdinand. And you can see here he's I think it's supposed to be like something for you to shoot with that he's holding in his hand, but it also might be just a really crude knife of some sort. And what happened was, the very first game in the campaign, Ip was was wounded, and then I rolled the dice to see if he would survive, and he did not. So my very first game, my leader died very dead. So that was just a lot of fun and really silly. So then I had to come up, of course, with a new leader for my orcs. And as I was thinking this, for my kill team campaign, and I was thinking this guy looks like he's sitting on the back just ready to stab that little knife in the neck of the orc. So I had to come up with a grot leader for my kill team. And so this was him here, Ferdinand. It's Macari for who came in the box with the Ghazghkull, but in my army he is known as Ferdinand the Backstabber, because that's how he rose to power anyway, which I think is very orky and very appropriate. So that was a fun campaign. I also have 3 Nobz, as you can see here. And they're painted in exactly the same way as the orcs are, the Ork Boys. I want them to fit in, and you can see one of them, this one here. She's called Ilse, and she was also in the kill team, and she was by far the most successful on the team. The team was, well, the team did not perform very well, but I had a lot of fun with them, and I particularly liked her because she was just really badass with that whole claw thing in her hand. So that was cool. And then I also have a car. This is the custom booster blaster, and I decided to paint this in with stripes, as you can see here. I don't know. I just thought it would be fun to do a sort of more graphic pattern while at the same time keeping it really, really silly. So that's what I did. And I really enjoyed painting this car. I need more cars in my orc army. I only have this one, which is way too little. I don't know what has happened. I placed it like on these sort of, I don't know, ramps or whatever on the base to make it look like it's about to jump off the base, just because I thought it looked a little bit like it was just standing still when it was flat on the base. So I thought this would help lift it up and give it a little bit more action. You can also see again I used some of the clear plastic that I also used for the Stormboyz. I used that here, but this car can't bounce. Which now that I'm thinking about it, that was silly. Why on earth did I go for a non-bouncy car? Well, as I said, I need more cars, so I will have a chance to rectify this mistake, definitely. I also have a Painboy, and he is just painted exactly like the rest of the boys. I really like the expression on his face, though. He looks so happy with that giant claw and sort of like a saw and everything. And the syringe, it's there. I think it's a fun model, really fun. But I'm particularly pleased with the face, both on him and on the grot on his back. And as we seem to have a bit of an issue with backstabbing grots, I would not be completely, I would not feel very safe with that guy on my back. But I don't know. This orc looks like he's just fine. Then I have a Deff, and this is, I think, the second orc model I ever painted. So I was still coming up with the whole idea of the color scheme and the cross-hatching pattern and everything. And I went with, as you can see, yellow and turquoise and red. And if I painted it today, I think I would have used a bit more bright colors. But that's not to say I don't like this model, because I do. It was actually kind of a pain to paint because there are so many tiny surfaces, and the cross-hatching takes a bunch of time, but particularly if you have just a bunch of tiny small surfaces that you're going to be filling out with cross-hatches, that's just really time consuming, whereas bigger surfaces are easier to work with actually. So these have a lot of surfaces, and a lot of them are also rounded, which makes it even more difficult to get in there and get the cross-hatching pattern right. I've named this Whoopsie Deffy, because it is knocking over this oil barrel filled with toxic waste, as you can see. This also means that it's not really very attached to the base at all, so I think it's 50-50 every time I use it for something, if it'll fall off the base. But I don't care, because I think this is so... I think it's fun that we have an oil spilling Deff Dread. We have a clumsy Deff Dread, so I am willing to live with that and just put on more and more super glue. So it has a bunch of super glue under its feet by now, but I mean, who's ever going to look under the feet of a Deff Dread anyway, right? If you are in a position where you can see the underside of its feet, I think you are beyond the point where you care about super glue, right? And then I have a big mech with a shock attack gun. And I didn't do any customization, anything to this, because I thought it was such a fun and also such a busy model in and of itself. So I decided just to leave it as it was. And it was a fun model. It's so silly with the tiny poor Grut being sucked into the machine there. I feel kind of bad for him. Look, he's trying to hold on for dear life, and there is nothing he can do. But it's a fun model. I like it. Then one of my biggest models. This is a really giant warboss, again from Gearguts mech shop, and I'm using it as a Ghazghkull, and I think it's so much fun. It's giant. I can just hold it up next to an Ork Boy here, just like so. So you can see it's a really big boy. And it was a joy to paint this model. It was so much fun. So many cool little details, like, the belt with all these skulls, and it's got an entire upper torso of a skeleton here for one of his knee pads. And then I, of course, am really happy with the fact that he is holding a Space Marine, crushing it in his hand. So I decided to put a little bit of blood effect coming out of one of the legs, and I painted this Space Marine in the same color scheme that one of my friends, Martin, uses for his Space Marines, just to show him who's boss on the tabletop. So far, I'm not really sure he got the idea. So I'll probably have to try and see if I can crush some of his Space Marines when we next have a game. And here again, I used one of those oil barrels with a toxic spill. I think it's such a fun effect, and I know it's people will often say, well, and less is more. The model is so busy and has so many bright colors, so perhaps that was not necessary. But it makes me happy. It looks like he's just stomping on it, and he just doesn't care. So that was fun to make as well. Then I have a Weirdboy, and this is obviously something I did myself with just a whole bunch of kit bashing and stuff. So it's an ordinary Ork Boy, but then I gave him like the headdress from a Seraphon kit, I think. I don't even remember where the staff is from, or the skull. I also gave him a as you can see here, a skull to hold in his hand, and then I put on a flaming effect, just because I thought it was fun. And then for the base, I did something with UV resin to make him look even weirder. And this is probably a model where you can say, is it a pretty model? No. Is it weird? Definitely. Which, he's supposed to be a weird boy, so that I think fits perfectly. I'm not sure all of this actually fits with the overall aesthetic of the rest of the army, but he's fun, and they're called like the Bubblegum boys, so if that doesn't leave a little bit of room for silliness, I don't know what to do. Alright, next up I have another Warboss, and one of my viewers really kindly sent me this Squig. This is from the Gloomspite Gitz for Age of Sigmar. And he sent me this and said, you can probably do something fun with it. And so I thought, why not mount my Warboss on top of the Squig? So I built the platform he's standing on myself out of a little bit of sprue, I think, and some metal mesh. And then I just had a lot of chains and thought I could, just place him on top of that and make it look like he's trying to steer it. I'm not sure if he's actually succeeding, but he's trying to hold some of the chains in in its claw, and then it goes underneath the squig, and and some of it in its mouth as well. I'm not really sure how easy it is to control squigs, but at least he's giving it a go, and I think he looks pretty happy with with his beast here. As you can probably imagine, I'm really excited about the beast snaggers, because then I get to paint more squigs. I don't think I'm going to paint them all pink. I haven't really decided if I want to paint them all the same color or just a whole bunch of different colors, like like a horse, for instance. They can have all sorts of different colors and spots and stuff. So perhaps that'll be my route to go to with the squigs. I haven't decided yet. Then I have the Ghazghkull from GW, and this is my first orc that I ever painted, and this is also the model that got me started with the cross-hatching. So at this point I hadn't really quite nailed down exactly what I wanted to do. So I just, I just sort of went with it, gave it a go, and decided that I wanted to paint it in using contrast paints. But when I splashed on all the contrast paints, it kind of dawned on me why people said they weren't really very well suited for flat surfaces, because I didn't really like the look of it. So I decided, well, it is already uneven, so why not add a little bit of unevenness with some scratches? And then it just sort of took off from there and became a whole another thing than I had originally imagined. But I am so happy it did, because I'm having so much fun with it. Oh yeah, I decided to give him a little freehand of his pet grot on his shoulder, just because, I mean, if you have the option of painting a pet grot, why wouldn't you, right? Then I have my 3 Mek Guns, and this one is the first I painted. As you can perhaps tell, it matches the color scheme of the Deff Dread and of Ghazghkull, and I really liked painting this model. It was fun. Perhaps this was actually my first video here on this channel more than a year ago with the how I painted this Mek Gun, because a lot of people had been asking about the Ghazghkull and the cross-hatching and stuff. So that's why I decided to do a tutorial. So this, I believe, was my first tutorial, actually. So, but it was fun to paint, and I mean, it's such a silly machine, right? So I decided I needed more. So I'm on a hobby budget, right? So I can't just buy every single model I want whenever I want it. So I decided I wanted another one, but I didn't want to spend the money on a completely new Mek Gun. So I went with a Kitbashed scratch build version. So the gun is not something I built myself, whereas the vehicle itself is more or less scratch built with some mesh and some plastic card and some cardboard, I think, and so the wire is, I think it's from a hairband. I just thought it looked fun. You can do it like this, and a bunch of chains, because if you can add chains, why wouldn't you, right? So this is fun, and it sort of, I think, matches the size pretty well with the official Mek Gun. So I think I'm good to go using it. I'm not sure, perhaps not in a GW tournament, but in friendly games at least, it's perfectly serviceable. And then I have another Mek Gun here, and this was sent to me by Curtis from the green one, and it's made in a really nice, this is resin, but it's made in a really nice resin, I think. And I mean, you gotta love that face shield, right? I had way too much fun painting it, and especially painting the eyes. So I decided that instead of just going with a really toony look, I wanted them to look weirdly out of place and sinister. So I both gave them I painted like the white reflection in the eyes, but I also put on a little bit of UV resin to make them shine. So it's perhaps a little bit, again, over the top, but that seems sort of to be, I don't know, a theme for this channel and this army. So it was, this was fun to paint. Then I have a small collection of grots, and some of them are from GW, and some of them are from the green one. And I think I am at this time, I think these are from the green one, because they're a little bit more chunky, which I like. I mean, I like chunky, and I like this one particular. I mean, it's a little bit tricky to see, but he's smoking a cigar, so he's like really badass and doesn't really care, right? And then I also have I have sort of a grot medic. I'm not sure how comfortable I would be going to the doctor if the doctor was a grot. But I mean, if that's the only option you've got, I suppose it's better than nothing. I'm not quite sure. Then I have my flash kits, and these were definitely one of my favorite units to paint because they are orc pirates. I want an entire army of orc pirates. That would be so cool. I really like the pirate aesthetic combined with the silliness of the orcs and the big guns. It's just, I think they're hilarious, and I had so much fun painting them. And I want more of them, but I mean, I want more of everything, right? So it's a little bit hard to, I mean, self-control and being an adult and stuff. I don't really like it. I just want more toy soldiers. But these were so much fun. And I also have the Captain Badrock. He's fine cast, which is a bummer. But I actually think he went together pretty well. I don't think it was too bad. And I like the sculpt. I like the model and everything. It's just, you know, the material that's a little bit. Come on. Yeah, but I decided to give him a fancy cloak because he's, after all, sort of a pirate captain, right? I love it. I love that he's got the pirate hat and everything. It's so much fun. Then I have my Burna Bommer, and I mean, it's a really cool model. It's just a really silly big flyer, and I decided I wanted to give it a whole bunch of silly bright colors. Just because why not? I mean, I could, so why not? I also then added a little bit of a couple of skulls hanging off the back of it. It's not a very stable arrangement. They were originally supposed to be like this, and then they've sort of dropped a little bit down. But I mean, super glue is your friend, right? I can always super glue them back up if I want to. But it doesn't matter. I think this is a fun model, and I haven't really tried it out as much on the tabletop as I would like. I'm really looking forward to the new codex and getting back into gaming. And again, you can see I have a little bit of oil toxic waste spill on the base just because I can, and it's fun. Then I have another flyer, and this is actually the Archaeo-Copter for the Adeptus Mechanicus. But I just thought it was such a fun and silly design that I decided that my orcs would probably have to loot it, so they did. And I had to do a little bit of rearranging of one of the orc pilot because he's actually a little bit too big to fit, so I had to shave off a bit and green stuff his legs and stuff. But it's not, I mean, it works perfectly fine, and it's not, I don't think it shows off a lot in when you're just looking at the model as a whole. I also decided with these nice big wings, you could do a little bit of fun freehand. So I wrote the Deus est Warg on the wings, thinking with like sort of Gothic letters almost here. Thinking that the Adeptus Mechanicus would have written like Deus est Machina, and then the orcs have sort of crossed it out and written War instead. And then on the other, I drew an Adeptus Mechanicus symbol, and then orcified it with a couple of horns. I also orcified the model with just a minute here. Let's see if I can get it off the base like so. And I also orcified it a little bit with the feet. So they're claws. I think they're from a killer can, but I can't really remember. And some bombs, of course. And oh, sorry about that. And these wings here are also from an orc flyer and some orc symbols scattered about. So I've tried to orcify it enough that it shows that it's not just an Archaeo-Copter, but it's now something that firmly belongs in the army of the Bubblegum Boys. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to play it as. I mean, if you're playing what you see is what you get, this is probably not gonna fly. But I mean, in friendly games, I think I can be allowed to play it as a Burna Bomber, for instance, because I mean it does have really nice big, brightly colored bombs ready to be thrown in the head of the enemy. So, but anyway, this was a fun project. It was also a project that took quite a bit of time again. As you can see here, there are so many rounded surfaces, and they're just a pain to paint with the cross-hatching. So, and the bombs. I think I left the bombs for last because I just didn't want to do them. So there are just a lot of tiny surfaces, and that makes it more time consuming than some of the bigger models, even if some models are bigger but have like more square, straight surfaces. But I ended up being really happy with it. Then I also have a Big Mek, and this is a 3D printed one. I think the file is on Thingiverse actually. I really like it because it's got like that welder's helmet on and stuff. It's a cool design. It was the first 3D printed model I ever got to play around with, and I must say I was very impressed with the quality of it. It was fun to do. And last but certainly not least, I have my it's a Gorkanaut or Morkanaut. I never really am able to remember what I decided in the end that it was going to be. Yeah, I'm horrible like that. Names that sound too much the same, I'm just not able to tell apart. So, but anyway, and this was a model that I had a lot of issues with painting wise because I couldn't figure out what color scheme I wanted. I tried a whole bunch of stuff and then it didn't really work out, and I just decided I never wanted to paint it, which was silly because now I had such a nice cool model. Why not do something with it, right? So in the end I just decided to do something that was even more silly than my usual silly color schemes. So instead of highlighting the blue with blue, I highlighted it with pink, and instead of highlighting the pink with pink, I highlighted it with yellow, which shouldn't work at all. And I don't think it's pretty, but I think it works. I think it fits the orc aesthetic somehow. And then I did the turquoise highlighted with green, which I do all the time now, but this was the first time I tried it out because before that I just highlighted the turquoise with white, and I think I like this way better actually, highlighting it with a very bright green. Oh, and I had another issue with it. For those of you who know the Gorkanaut or Morkanaut model well, you will probably notice that there is something wrong with the head, and that is yeah, that's because I lost the head. I don't know where my the original Morkanaut head is, and I still haven't located it. It has just vanished into the warp, I think. It's just gone. I don't know where it is. So I either had to just leave it without a head, which I thought was a bit of a shame, or I had to like make a new one. So I scratch built the head. I think as far as I remember, it's there is some plastic card involved, and there's some I think it was milliput I ended up using for sculpting it. Yeah, so that was a bit silly, but I think the overall effect is fine. I don't think it ruins the model or anything, though I was quite displeased with myself for an hour or two when it dawned on me that I would not be able to actually find the original head. I also included, I mean, you can see here the driver, he sits here and he looks really happy. I mean, what orc wouldn't be happy piloting this giant, huge, stupid machine, right? But then I thought there was a bit of a trend with the backstabbing grots, so I have added a tiny grot here on the back, and you can see he's holding up, I don't know if it's supposed to be a mine or something, but in my mind it's a club, and he is sneaking up behind the pilot, ready to hit him over the head so that he can take control of the Morkanaut or Gorkanaut, whichever it is. Yeah. I have way too much fun with silly little details like that. So these are the Bubblegum Boys Brigade so far. As I said, this is definitely not a finished army. I'm looking to add a whole bunch more stuff to it. I need, as I said, more cars. I at some point need a Stomper. I'm going to get the new Beast Snacker boys. I need at least 30 or 40 more boys, just ordinary boys. And I mean, there are just so many cool, awesome things. I would also like a Squig-Mounted at some point, and yeah. I don't think this is a project that will ever stop. So let me know in the comments if what do you think I should add next. If you have any cool ideas, I'm also always up for suggestions about like cool conversions and ideas for that. So let me know what you think. Also, let me know if you like this sort of video, because I can definitely do more. I have other armies I could show off like this, not as big as this, but I could also show off some of my Age of Sigmar armies if you, some of you are interested in seeing that as well. So thank you so much for watching this one, and I will see you next time. Bye!